Hello. Hello. Hello, everyone. Come on in. I would like to thank each and every one of you for tuning in this evening. If you're watching the replay, I want to say welcome to you as well. If you all don't mind, I would ask that you would please share this live with your friends. And while we are waiting for other people to join us, I just ask that you would, again, share and let me know what city and state you are watching from. So welcome. I'm so grateful you guys could join me tonight. So as I said, please share with a friend. As the children say, sharing is caring, because I know this message is not just for us, it's for others as well. I hope you guys are being safe, as this virus is crazy right now. So make sure that you all are adhering to your local government and following directions and staying your hind parts in the crib. So again, I say welcome, and I ask that you please share this live with your friends. Tonight, I only ask that you get a pen and a piece of paper, because I want us all to take notes. I ask that you all help make this interactive. So if there is any information that you would like to share, if there is any wisdom that you would like to impart, please share it in the comments. If you all have any questions, if I'm not able to, hi Kimberly. If I'm not able to answer those questions, feel free to inbox me your question and leave your email, and I will respond accordingly as soon as I possibly can. So thank you all for tuning in again, and we're going to get started. So tonight we're going to be talking about 7 signs that a man is emotionally unavailable. And while my flyer indicated that we would be talking about 7 signs, as I finished preparing, I realized it's actually 9. So we're going to look at 9 signs that a man is emotionally unavailable. So let me tell you guys what prompted me to do this teaching. So it came about because over the last couple of weeks, I've received several emails from single women who are desiring companionship and they want committed relationships. But what is happening is they're finding themselves being burned by men because they are getting themselves involved with men who don't have the emotional capacity to put in the same effort that they have. Hi, Nakia. Hi, Cami. Thank you guys for joining. So that's what made me decide to do this teaching. And one of the things that I have come to realize is that some women, we just have this innate ability to be able to smell bull crap miles away, while other women are naive. And so when I decided to make the flyer, I was like, I don't think older women might take an interest to it, but you guys would be surprised to find that most of the emails that I have received are from women who are 40 plus, who seem to have their lives together, who seem to have a lot to offer, yet they are still finding themselves, putting in effort and coming across men who are just not able to give them what it is that they need. So I started getting like email after email, and as I read them, I started to see this trend as it relates to the type of guys they were attracting or the type of guys they were falling for. And many of the men that they were dating, some of them had, narcissistic personality disorder. And one of the common threads when I talked to these women is that they were dealing with men who had rejection issues from their mothers. And then other women just got themselves in stupid situations. They would deal with the man who would tell them out front, right at the beginning, listen, I'm not looking for anything serious, but something inside of that woman made her decide to pursue him anyway, thinking that, at some point she could change his mind by using her value to, change his mind. And so very often you find yourself burned. I was recently in studying, I found out that it's called, a lot of women possess what's called broken bird syndrome. And so we have the tendency to try to nurture and fix men who are just not emotionally available. And then we get ourselves caught up, and then we get distracted, and we say we want a man to tell us the truth. And then when they do, we completely ignore it and throw it out the window. So after talking to these women and seeing the common theme that they had the desire to feel loved and they wanted to be, nurtured, the other thing that came up was that I found these women had yet found love and security in Christ. So they were entering relationships not having a solid identity, not knowing who they were in Christ, not knowing what love really looked like, not understanding sacrifice. And so that's another teaching for another night, but that is a common theme. So the objective for tonight is to discuss warning signs that I believe may be indicative that a man is emotionally unavailable. We are going to learn healthy habits and boundaries that we can apply in these dating relationships. And in closing, I'm going to provide for you all a checklist. I like to call it a wisdom checklist. I'm not talking about, the checklist that women have. He got to be fine. He got to be tall, dark, and handsome. And he has to make six figures. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about a list that will help you, make sure that you are pouring your heart out and giving your heart to someone who will actually burn you. So the Bible teaches us in Proverbs 4:23 that we should guard our hearts with all diligence because everything we do flows from it. And that is including the relationships that we decide to pursue. In addition, Proverbs 4:6 tells us not to forsake wisdom. It says because wisdom, it refers to her as a she, wisdom will protect us. It says to love wisdom and wisdom will watch over us. And so in these relationships, we need to approach them being wise, and we also need to approach them, with our hearts guarded to an extent. Not to the extent that we don't allow people in, but that we use wisdom and we trust our discernment. So tonight it is my prayer that this teaching will help provide for you all the wisdom that you need to help you, pursue healthy relationships and be able to identify men who are appropriate for you versus men who are going to be wasting your time. I want this to help you be able to identify men who share your values and morals and really do have a vested interest in you. So we all know that as women, we often find ourselves, being nurturing. We exhibit a lot of patience. A lot of times because we are nurturing, we demonstrate by patience and we allow things to go on for too long. We throw boundaries out the window. We throw caution out the window. And very often we don't do what the Bible says. The Bible says that we are to judge a tree by its fruit, right? We know the tree based on the fruit that it produces. So we'll just ignore rotten fruit. We'll ignore all these signs and all these warnings that tell us, no, this guy isn't for us. We throw discernment and caution out the window. So before we address these signs that a man is unavailable, I wanted to share with you all an email, the one email that really sparked this live tonight. And I talked to the lady who sent it to me, and in her wisdom and in her maturity, she said, yes, you can use it. And I don't mind if they scrutinize me because she wants to learn from it. And she said, because she's been hurt, if there is something in here that will help teach other women and prevent them from going through the same thing, she said, by all means, share it. So this is the email, and it reads, Dear Stephanie, I have been dating this guy for a little over 4 months now. Initially, everything was good. It appeared we had the same values as well as commonalities. I knew of him but didn't really get to know him personally until we were introduced by a mutual acquaintance. We used to talk on the phone for hours and text all day. He led me to believe and feel like there was no other person in the world more important than me as he pursued the hell out of me. He always complimented me and made me feel beautiful. He went great lengths to take interest in my business as well as bringing clients to me and my ministry. He was always consistent with calling and checking on me. She says, I trusted this man and shared very intimate details about my past, including hurt that I experienced from previous relationships. I shared my secrets. I shared my brokenness with him. He would always provide compassion and words of encouragement. She said, I was celibate for 3 years when we met. He was so into me, I fell hard and I fell fast. I ended up having sex with him and our physical connection was out of this world. The physical connection only made things move faster for me. It appeared he was all in. I will tell you that although I have fallen deeply in love with him, there has always been something in my spirit that felt cautious. I started to see what I know now is red flags about 2 months in. He would say he was going to do things for me and they would often be left undone. He never really invested as much financially into the things we did together as I did. He was always making hints about things he needed, and me being the way I am, I would provide because I had a giving heart. He started to become unavailable and would not answer the phone after a certain time in the evening a few days a week. When I asked questions, he would evade them and turn things around on me. When I would share how he started to make me feel devalued, he would not acknowledge my feelings, but instead attack my character. He would say I was paranoid and that I had problems. We have never been able to resolve any conflict because he would always behave the same. After he got upset with being approached, he would drastically and intentionally do things to punish me, like block my phone calls, delete me on social media, and go days without speaking to me. He became very childlike in those behaviors. What I noticed though, now this, pay attention because I'm going somewhere. What I noticed though is that he would call and give me an indirect apology while simultaneously implying that I was the cause. Immediately after that, he would act like nothing had happened and would again shower me with attention and affection for days and for weeks. Then boom, out of nowhere, he would disappear again. As a result, our emotional connection shifted. I felt like I was always walking on eggshells. There was a complete change in his personality. He also informed me that he often felt rejected by his mom as a child and explained some unhealthy family dynamics. She said, I felt that was important to share with you. I should have known something was off when we had our first disagreement during an important date for me, and we were going to celebrate that evening. He was supposed to be my date. During that initial disagreement, he threw my past in my face, exaggerated things that I had shared with him about my exes, thus calling me a whore indirectly, and refused to celebrate with me on that important date. It was like he was a totally different man. We had a serious blow up 2 weeks ago, and as usual, he ignored me and severed ties in communication. Last night, he contacted me again and shared how stupid he felt for hurting me and how much he misses me. My heart is too broken, yet I don't feel I want to give up on this. I keep thinking about our friendship and the wonderful times we had in the beginning. What should I do? Please help. Now, when you guys, so initially when I started reading this, when I got to the third paragraph of this email, I realized that it seemed like she was dealing with someone who has classic personality, narcissistic personality disorder, right? Those were all the red flags. You could see it, they were just like blaring. But I'm not going to talk about that because that, that's a different subject. But what I will say is people who possess that personality, especially men and women, they are very charming. They are very detailed. They mirror you. So they know how to attract you. They know how to keep your attention because whatever it is you like, they like. Whatever it is you're interested in, they're interested in because they're mirroring. Yes, narcissists use the past to learn your weaknesses. Yes, and they will, in fact, reintroduce those experiences in order to tear you down. That's exactly what they do. They are predators, and it's called narcissistic personality disorder. Disorder meaning that it's something that they cannot control. So, like I said, we're not going to really discuss that personality tonight, but what we will do is look at this email before I go into the 7 signs in order to see what we can glean from her in this email. My mom, there's an old wise saying that says that a smart person learns from their mistakes, but a wise person learns from the mistakes of others. So that's what I want to talk about briefly before we go into these 7 signs. So like I said, I want this to be interactive. So please share your comments because other people need to see what you're thinking. We don't all have, I don't have all the answers. And there are things that you all may have experienced that you could share up here because the whole point of this teaching is for all of us to gain wisdom and for women to be able to heal and not make the same mistakes over and over again. So my first question is, in reading this email to you, do you think she was doing too much too fast? Do you think she was doing too much too fast, considering that she said that this relationship had only been for about 4 months? Now, my opinion is absolutely she did too much too fast. You know, to me, it seems like she let her guard down too fast. We know she, she neglected boundaries. She went right through boundaries she had in place because, it says she was celibate for 3 years. I mean, 3 whole years. You threw that out of the way for a 4-month relationship. It's showing that he was inconsistent in how he was doing things. Apparently, he was mean-spirited because he was doing things to punish her as opposed to building her up, right? So, like I said, do you think that she threw her boundaries away, and do you think she was pacifying the disrespect that he was giving her? Now, I say she was, yes. Exactly. He did yes, Kim, he did exactly enough to get what he wanted. That's exactly right. So, and I think she's pacifying the disrespect because he's showing her a pattern, because she says, boom, again, he turns around and he neglects me. He shuts the phone down. He blocks me. He doesn't allow me to communicate. He's blaming me again. So now she's pacifying this behavior because she wants to keep him at bay. And one of the things that really stood out to me was because she said she keeps replaying, how the relationship started, their friendship at the beginning. But remember, I said, we need to judge a tree by its fruit. So if his fruit right now is toxic, then he's showing you who he really is. And very often as women, we get caught up on potential as opposed to seeing who a person is, right now. My next question to you is, what do you think about her self-esteem, since she appears to have this open door policy? And by open door policy, I mean she keeps allowing him, to come back and hurt her. He'll treat her good and then disappoint her, set her up for failure. She fails, and then he'll come back and try to lick her wounds or heal and pacify it. So to me, I think that she's in fact pacifying some of these behaviors, and she's allowing these things to take place. And unfortunately, as women, that's what we do. Drew Hill has a song that says the love we had stays on my mind. But we can't get so caught up into the love that we had and how they used to treat us that we ignore the way they're abusing us and making us feel in that moment. And a lot of times that's what we women do. Yes. To fast, give what is given. You don't want to jump ahead of what could possibly something that goes nowhere. Absolutely. Yes, she went entirely too fast. And in talking to her, that's what she said as well. Eric says after he knew her past hurts, he used that to gain her trust. And after he got sex, he knew, yep, he had her and got what he wanted and lost interest. Absolutely. We see that alike. Yes, Artina, sounds like it's an addictive pattern. And that's exactly what we women fall into. But again, that is that emotional roller coaster that a man who is emotionally unavailable will put us on, because a man who cares and has the capacity to love and receive love and has and is healthy in his own emotions, he's not going to treat you like that. Yes, sometimes as women we are vulnerable and go, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And vulnerability a lot of times is just like a drop of blood to a shark in the water. Everybody can smell it. We often tell men how we're treated to get them to simply but use that. They absolutely do. Will use that for they will use that for advantage. Yes, you are most certainly right. We mourn what if as opposed to what is now. So let's consider the fact that she is knowing, like I said, she's ignoring how he is now for his potential. So now that we've addressed that and we've talked about what brought up this teaching and how it affects women of all ages, it's not just us young girls out here. I like to say young girls. It's not just young women out here falling for this, but it's women who, like I said, who are seasoned, who are aged, who have their lives together, who are falling, for these men who are just not emotionally available. So with that being said, what are some signs and red flags that a man is emotionally unavailable? Number one, you guys, if you have a pen, write this down. Number one, he is usually too evasive or too invasive. Now, what I mean by evasive, I mean he's sketchy and he's withholding like information from you, right? If you feel like you're trying to get blood from a turnip just to get to know this man, then that's a red flag that something is wrong, right? If you're having to jump through hurdles just to get to know him more intimately, something is off. Or if you're trying to get him to open up about his past, then something is off. Now, don't get me wrong. Men do not always just share their hearts. They don't always just talk about what they've been through. But inside of you when someone is intentionally hiding things from you. And this is how women find themselves in relationships with men who are married, men who have another woman on the side, because they aren't allowed. They're withholding information on purpose. They're being evasive on purpose to keep you, at bay. Men like this typically have, you see they have a lot of trust issues, or like I said, they have something to hide. And this behavior is typically seen in order to prevent you from forming this like deep connection with them, right? And so chances are, if he's disconnected and detached from his feelings and he's not able to express them to you, or he's hiding things, chances are he's not going to be able to attach himself to you. The second thing I said is because you want to make sure he's not also too invasive, right? Because you have men who are, like I said, they're just straight wolves. They're coming to see what they can get from you, what they can get from the relationship. So if you have a man who, as soon as he meets you, he wants to know all about your past. He's trying to find out, if you got a 401k. He wants to know about your hurts. He's trying to connect with you through what I like to call trauma bonds. That's someone you need to be leery of, because you want to know what his motivation is. Because a lot of times people come in to just get what they can get and go on about their business. They're trying to judge your heart. So you don't want someone who is also trying to be all in your business, trying to meet your family and friends too fast, because he could be charming, and that could very well be someone who has a narcissistic personality disorder, because what they're doing is they're just trying to reel you in, and what's going to happen is you're going to get hurt. So number 2, another sign that you can tell that a man is emotionally unavailable is when he states things like, I don't like titles. He tells you, I don't like titles. But yet he doesn't mind getting the privileges or accepting the privileges of a husband or a boyfriend, right? So an emotionally unavailable man is not trying to commit to you, right? He's not trying to be loyal to you. He is basically telling you right now up front, and this is the thing that we have to stop ignoring. He's telling you up front, listen, I don't want to commit. I want to keep things casual, and I don't like a definition. So I'm telling you, this is what I want. I'm not going to be emotionally available to you. And so we women have to stop thinking that we can change these men and make them be good to us, or make them change where they say they are in life. You can't do that. So you have to trust when he says, listen, I don't want a title. I don't want any definition. I'm just trying to change, trying to chill. And a lot of times these men like this, they're going to treat you just like a fling. And that's what he's going to consider you as. And he's going to do that because he's not comfortable having to be held accountable to a standard of what a real loving relationship is. He's telling you he's not ready for that. So it's up to you. This is what I tell women. It's up to you to decide whether or not you're going to be the cow that he gets to milk for free, because he's already told you what it is. So number 2, he's telling you he doesn't want a title. He doesn't want a committed relationship. He's just trying to chill. Stop trying to change that. He's emotionally unavailable. Stop trying to get that from him. Your charm, your looks, your heart, none of that is going to change where he says he is right now. Respect that he's being honest, and you make your decision based on that. Exactly. He's already coming with an agenda. He's told you what it is. Now you know what it is. Number 3. He responds to conflict by avoiding and shutting down, right? Or he responds with sarcasm or making little jokes, or he doesn't want to deal with things head on. A lot of times men like that, they'll just brush things under the rug or shrug it off. And so a lot of times they do that because they don't want to deal with the raw emotions of anger, of fear, of disappointment or sadness. So they're showing you that they don't want to deal with their own emotions, let alone how are they going to have the capacity to deal with yours. And so when you have someone who who responds by shutting down. Let me explain to you. This is something that you're not going to just see in this moment. This is something that you're going to see, even if it's not changed or worked on. These are things that you're going to see in a relationship, even if it turns into a marriage relationship. If his habits and patterns are shutting down and not talking and not opening up and expressing himself, and he shuts down and doesn't talk to you and make you feel like he's unavailable, that is a form of emotional abuse, because you should have a right and he should care enough about you to want to know how you feel and to allow you to be able to express yourself to him. So like I said, so just look for the time. So one of the ways you can tell is if he has something going on in his life that should be disappointing or should be hurtful, and he just kind of dismisses it, sweeps it on the rug, jokes about it, or use sarcasm. It's a sign that he doesn't want to deal with his own, as we like to say, ish, let alone deal with yours. Okay? So that's number 3. Number 4, and this is like the biggest red flag of them all. He is inconsistent about spending time with you. You can never make any solid plans with him. You know, he's flaky. You know, you're reworking your day, reworking your schedule, trying to spend time with him and trying to see him. And he's not doing that with you because he's showing you that you are not a priority for him. At no point are you a priority for him. And he's telling you that chances are, I'm just waiting to see if there is something better that will come along. So I can't commit to you or this date or this time. And let me tell you, if a man can't even commit to coming to see you, eating a meal with you, taking you out to dinner, he does not have the capacity to be there for you emotionally. You can hang that up, stick a fork in it, it's done. Number 5, and I'm gonna go back, hold on, to say, because when men have a real interest in you, it is in them, it is an innate thing that is in them that likes to chase, they like to pursue. So you won't have to try to figure out if they like you, if they're for you, if they care about you, if they want to spend time with you, because they are actually going to pursue you. You are going to know. You're not going to be sitting back wondering, should I change my schedule? But then, I don't know if he's going to come because last week he said he was going to come and he didn't show up, and then the ones, especially the ones that are flaky, who won't show up, won't call, won't give you any explanation, don't feel like you're worth, don't respect your time, something that you can't get back. He's not emotionally available. Exactly. And that is exactly, Stephanie, that is exactly the way he avoids building a serious relationship with you. Number 5, he likes to rock your world physically, but doesn't take an interest in developing emotional intimacy with you. Right? Because we know a man, he'll sleep with you, but that doesn't mean that he has to connect with you on an emotional level. So you need to look for that, because for a man, sex is easy, right? With sex for a man, it doesn't create the messiness. They don't have to deal with the messiness or the seriousness or the complications that they would have to deal with when it comes to forging an emotional connection with you, right? So the physical is so much easier. So my question is that, well, what I want to tell you is to pay attention to times where you two have times to connect, have a time to connect, and you have a time to connect, and he takes that time to try, instead of trying to get to know your heart, get to know your mind. Or if you start having a deep conversation, he turns it into something physical. That could very well be a sign that he's showing you he's emotionally unavailable and he's not trying to connect with you on that level. But sex with you, he will do. But what if it is the type of man that does not like conflict? Okay, so this is my opinion, Pastor Larkin. So even if you don't like conflict, as an adult, we should be able to sit down and have, an adult, mature conversation in order to express how we're feeling about a thing and being able to resolve it. Now, like I said, I understand men need more time to process how they're feeling and to walk through their emotions. And a lot of times they don't respond immediately because they don't want to say something to hurt you. But I'm talking about those men who constantly sweep things under the rug, act like what you say doesn't matter, act like what they did doesn't matter. That is when I believe it becomes an issue, because you will see those things. If you proceed, you're going to see those things show up later on in the relationship. Yes, too many of us are getting soul ties through sex and it's nothing else. Exactly right. And then we're going to take that crap, that hurt, that pain, and that anger and disappointment and mess up a good man because we're upset with something we allow a fool to do to us. Number 6, he says to you, I still have a lot of baggage. I still have a lot of things I need to work on. Guess what? He's telling you the truth. He's telling you, listen, I'm going to have a hard time being emotionally available to you because I still have crap in me that I need to handle. And most of the time when a man says that, he's letting you know there are things, I have baggage that I need to work on a personal level that is apart from you, right? Now, I'll still kick it with you. I'll still rock your world. I might even go out to dinner with you, but this is not real serious because I have baggage. And one of the things that, I have learned and that I see a lot of times, that baggage equates to, I still have another woman that I'm dealing with. My heart is still tied or attached to someone else and I'm trying to see where this is going. I haven't necessarily cut this off yet. So that's my baggage. So now I'm saying, so if he's telling you he has baggage, how can he be there for you emotionally when he's still trying to deal with the crap that he has that's weighing him down and burdening him? Number 7, he talks a lot about his ex and has a lot of crazy exes. Let me tell you, this is a very telltale sign, because if you have a man that when you all are talking about relationships, if the first thing he does is weave his ex into the conversation, I'm talking about continuously, that means that he still has some feelings there. There are still some unresolved issues. He's still, grappling within himself, about that particular relationship. And that also means that if he still has ties to her, that leaves little room for him to connect with you emotionally, right? So how can he commit himself to you fully when there is still the ghost of another woman lingering in his heart? Right? So if he talks about his ex and has a lot of crazy exes, so if he has a ton of crazy exes, this is the next question. Why are all of your exes crazy when you are the common denominator? When a man tells you, oh, she was busting the windows out my car, she was doing this, and you see that this happens to be, something that is continuous across the board, like every woman he talks about is crazy and was doing crazy stuff, at some point, the light bulb should go off and say, okay, bro, you're the common denominator. So what is it that you were doing that created this? And so when you have a man like that, you need to be listening and in tune to see if he in fact is holding himself accountable to playing any role in that relationship that created some of this craziness that he claims she has, or some of this some of the bad things that took place in the relationship. Listen to see if there is any accountability, because if there is no accountability from him, that means he is showing you he doesn't have the ability to take an introspective approach in viewing himself and seeing what it is that he might need to work on and correct, right? So he's putting everything. So if he's already blaming everyone else, what do you think he's going to do for you? So as soon as something happens, you're the blame. As soon as something happens, you're the crazy ex. It was nothing he did. Because he can't see himself. Number 8, he frequently disappears or backs off slowly. And we know that when a man is emotionally available, he's going to pursue you, right? So typically when you see a man, when he's running at you full throttle, and he gets there and he does all these things, and then he backpedals back and he completes that cycle over and over again, is because he's showing you, like, listen, I want to get close, but not too close, right? I still have one foot out the door. Yes, Penny, that is true. I still have one foot out the door. And in his mind, by not contacting you and creating this distance, subconsciously, he thinks he's allowing you to heal, to kind of deal with him not being there, or not attach yourself to him in the way that you were. You came on too strong. You responded with your heart too fast, and he's not emotionally available to handle that. So he's running back, You know what I mean? To like take himself from that because he can't handle it. So when you have a man that's running back and forth like that, chances are he is, you know, when he's disappearing and popping back up, that whole disappearing act is typically because he's, again, emotionally unavailable. Number 9. He doesn't want to meet any of your friends. I'm talking about over an extended period of time. Now, you guys have been dating and talking for a while. He doesn't want to meet any of your friends, and he doesn't want to meet any of your family. To me, that is a red flag, because I know most men, when they have a true interest in a woman, he wants to know who is influencing her life. He wants to know who her closest friends are, because typically we're a reflection of them, right? He wants to know who's in her ear, and he also wants to make his presence known. So when a man is like refusing to do that, he's letting you know, like, okay, and it's not saying that he's completely emotionally unavailable, but what he is saying right now is, if you think this is going, that I'm trying to be more serious, you're trying to be more serious than I'm ready to be right now. Yep, that's a red flag for sure. Absolutely, Pastor Andre. So, with all of those things being said, I'm going to go back through them really quickly, because like I said, if you were taking notes, I want you to write these down. Number 1, he is too evasive or too invasive. He's trying to hide stuff, or he's trying to know too much about you too fast. Number 2, he states that he doesn't like titles, yet he doesn't mind accepting boyfriend and husband privileges. Number 3, he responds to conflict by avoiding it, covering it up with sarcasm, shutting down, or ignoring you, or, you know, like I said, punishing you. Number 4, he is inconsistent about spending time with you, and you can never make solid plans with him. Number 5, he likes to have sex with you. He wants to connect with you physically, but anytime you try to connect with him emotionally, he runs, and he tries to, you know, he's distracting you basically with sex. Number 6, he says to you he still has a lot of baggage, which means he's not going to be able to necessarily put all into you if he's still trying to work on his emotions and get through some stuff, or heal and get over some ex-girlfriends. Number 7, he talks about his ex a lot. That might mean he's connected to her still, or he has a lot of crazy exes. That means he may not be able to hold himself accountable. Number 8, he frequently disappears and backs off. And number 9, he doesn't want to meet any of your family and friends. So with all of that being said, and we've learned this, and we've looked at this email, and we've looked at some of the signs that will let us know if a man is emotionally unavailable, let's look at some things that you and I and other women can do that will help them avoid getting themselves tied up with emotionally unavailable men. So number 1, you have to stop allowing a man to be the gauge for how you value your worth. Right? You ever seen a woman, she breaks up with her boyfriend, and she's like, you know, I just wanted him to value me. He just never saw how valuable I was. And so like her whole motivation is, she just like, you know, the little engine that could chugging, trying to get this man to see her worth when he's not capable of seeing it, right? Let me see. This is so good, because once women feel like their clock is ticking. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that is a big sign. That is a big sign. Very often when a woman feels like her biological clock is ticking, she kind of throws caution to the wind. You know, those standards that she once had, they kind of plummet, you know, because she's just, you know, she just wants someone. And like I said, you know, so number 1, you have to stop allowing the man to be the gauge for how you determine your worth. Number 1, Christ, who you are in Christ determines your worth. So until you understand and know your worth through Christ, you're going to always find yourself looking to someone outside of you to validate who you are, to add some value to who you are. Some women, their whole identity in life is, I'm a wife, I'm a girlfriend, as opposed to knowing who they are in Christ. So you're going to get yourself attached to someone emotionally unavailable, because you're going to keep looking to them to build you up, to tell you who you are, to add value to who you are. And that was never their place to begin with. And then you're putting this heavy burden and weight on them that God never intended for them to have, because the God-sized hole in you is only going to be filled by God himself. So number 2, once you know your self-worth, I need you to project it and protect it. I want you to project it and protect it. So when you as a woman decide to accept whatever terms, a man says he wants just to cling to him on some level or any level, it communicates the message to him that you're desperate, right? And so he's going to treat you just like you're someone desperate. He's going to treat you just like, nobody else wants you, and that he is the best thing that ever happened to you since sliced bread. When you don't project or protect your worth, he is going to be okay with giving you breadcrumbs, because that's all you were settling for, because that's all he's offering, and you're just like a bird picking it up. Once a woman knows her worth and love in herself and tolerance, man, yes. Too many women are looking to a man to validate their existence, while a man is looking for a consistent hookup. That's it. You looking for this man to validate you, and all he's looking for is a booty call. Absolutely right. Number 3. Okay, and we see this based on the email I read at the beginning, right? Number 3, don't change your standards to meet him where he is. And I know that sounds crazy, and that might sound bougie and uppity, but no, it is not. It is not. Do not change your standards to meet him where he is. And I'm talking about when I say standards, I'm talking about lowering yourself, devaluing yourself, disregarding yourself to be with this man. So if in your mind, your goal is, I am looking for an exclusive, monogamous, loving relationship that is going to lead to marriage, and that's something that you want, then you need to keep that the standard, and you need to keep that in your sight at all times. Don't lower your standards. Don't change your goals to be with someone to make them fit, to make yourself fit into a mold that they have, because you're setting yourself up for failure. Number 4, you need to know what you want from your partner, and you need to turn away from men who's just not willing to give it to you. Simple as that. There are millions of men in the world. One of them, at some point, your life is going to be presented. I tell people, God presents people into your life, right? He's not going to pick our mate and say, hey, this is for you, because if it goes wrong, he's taking our free will. And then if the relationship turns sour, it goes wrong, then, we can blame God. So he doesn't do that. But in life, you're presented with people who will come into your life. And if you have a standard, and you know your worth, and you know your value, and you know what your purpose, your call is, then you'll know, okay, this person fits into it, and you won't keep getting yourself attached to these type of people. Yes, make that. Yep. A lot of times we make decisions that change the situation, and we end up regretting it. Be honest with yourself. Use your mind and not just your heart. That's right. Don't throw common sense out the window. Common sense is still right. Still right. And the other thing, stop reliving, right? When you have met someone that's shown you who they are, and so I said it earlier, we get caught up in the potential of who they are. Look at the tree right now. If this tree is producing some rotten fruit, I don't want it. Forget the love that you had stayed on your mind, because people can be Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in an instant. So the next thing you need to do is stop, ignoring the right now. Live in the right now and recognize this rascal is either good for me or he's bad for me, and let it go. Because at some point, even if you're getting both of them, there's something in his character that is off, and you're going to always be dealing with that yo-yo of a situation. And so, like I said, stop ignoring what is for what will be. Stop ignoring what was for what it is. So those are 6 things that you can do to prevent yourself from getting attached to emotionally unavailable men. So at the beginning of this, I said, we were going to look at this email. We were going to talk about the email. We were going to look at some things that we could glean from it. This can help women out for sure. Thanks for the video. Probably would have helped me in my single. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to follow up with the series for single women, because God has really been dealing with me about that, showing me how I forfeited so much of my singleness trying to look for a man to validate me before allowing God to show me who I was. And it's common. We do it all the time. But that's another teaching for another night. So I said to you all, I was going to have a checklist that I wanted you all to kind of write down some things that, while you are like dating these guys, and if you do get to a point where you are kind of connecting somewhat emotionally, there are certain things that I want you to pay attention to. Number one, I want you to look at the way this man loves his mother, right? Because typically the way a man loves his mother is eventually how he will love his wife. And I was telling you guys earlier that one of the telltale signs of people with narcissistic personality disorder is mother issues. They have mommy issues. So one of the ways that you can prevent this is looking at how he loves his mother. Because if a man doesn't love his mother, or if he has issues with his mother, chances are he's not going to be able to just open his heart up to you. Number two, and I talked about this earlier, make sure you pay attention to how he acts and responds to conflict. You don't want to be dealing with anyone who's going to shut down, emotionally abuse you, verbally abuse you, disregard your feelings, go days without talking to you, or sweep things under the rug, because this is what happens to the rug, right? So as you sweep this conflict under, it piles up. And it piles up and piles up, and then you have resentment, and it's a rug so high you can't see each other. And that's what happens in a lot of relationships. So pay attention to how he's able, how he responds to stress and conflict, because, you don't want to deal with someone who gets stressed out and becomes mean and ignores you and mistreats you. You want to meet his friends. Number three, you want to meet his friends, and keep in mind, just like I said to you earlier, a man's friends are also a very good indicator. Very good indicator, and it shows his heart. Some guys love their mothers too much. Yes, they've got to get to a point where they have to learn to leave and cleave. Absolutely, Pastor Henderson. And one of the things, love is about sacrifice. And so when you're not even seeing sacrifice being made, because that whole leaving and cleaving, you leaving your mother and your father, that's sacrifice. I'm leaving the familiar. I'm leaving the comfort. I'm leaving, everything I've known to cleave to you. So that's sacrifice. That's a deep level of sacrifice. So there's no way he's going to leave or cleave if he's not even willing to sacrifice, getting up to take you out to eat. Yeah, you can hang that up. So, like I said, pay attention to his friends, because his friends, we like attracts like. So whatever his friends are like, I remember one time I was dating this guy. I was talking to this guy, and he was saying how he had showed one of his friends a picture of me. And the first thing he said, and my friend's response was, "Man, have you smashed that yet?" Right? And I remember thinking to myself, what that was just, it gave me so much. His friend gave me so much information about how he was, to assume that would be the motive, right? That was a very telltale sign that might be his personality. And if his friend thinks like that, then they have some kind of commonality. Some guys don't have any friends. It'll be hard to judge the company. That's true. That's true, Chucky. Absolutely. The next thing you want to do is, when he does meet his friends, it's been so many times I've been in relationships when I was younger, and my girlfriends was like, "Stephanie, he's just not any good for you. He doesn't mean you any good. That's trouble." But because my heart was all in it, I couldn't see the red flags and things that they could see. So it's very important that you introduce your friends to this man that you're talking about being serious with, because they can tell you some things about him that you aren't able to see. They can tell you, like, "Listen, sis, it looks like you're losing yourself in this man. Sis, it looks like your focus has changed, sis. You ain't going to church like you used to, sis. Your relationship with the Lord has changed, sis. You let your boundaries, down." Right? So your friends can tell you some things about him. The next thing you want to do is look at what kind of books. What does he do for entertainment? What kind of books is he reading? What kind of movies is he watching? You know, that tells you a lot about the moral fiber of who he is, right? You can tell a lot about a person based on their interests, right? So pay attention to those things. I said earlier, make sure that you don't become too physical, because especially for women, a lot of times women now, these modern age women, you know, they can hit it and quit it just like the men can, move right on like nothing happened. At least they think they can, but they don't know what's going on with them spiritually. But on the surface, they can do that, right? But make sure for you that you don't get involved with him too fast, physically too fast, because that's going to cloud your judgment. Right? Remember in the email, this lady said she was celibate for 3 years, right? She knocked boots with this man, and she said the physical connection was out of this world. But I'm thinking to myself, sis, if you have not had sex in 3 years, anything would probably feel like it's out of this world. But the point I'm trying to make is it just clouded her whole judgment, right? So when you involve sex, it takes away from you being able to see who he really is and a lot of the character flaws that are there, like, hello, I'm here. You just ignore those things and kind of push them to the side. If you want to make sure that when you meet him and you've told him, listen, these are my boundaries, these are my standards, these are my non-negotiables. A man who loves you, well, not necessarily loves you, but a man who respects you, because love is something that comes later. But a man who is respectful and a man who respects you is not going to keep trying to get you to push your boundaries back. He's not going to keep trying to cross boundaries. He's not going to keep challenging you and trying to make you do things that you have already said you are uncomfortable doing. That's someone who is also operating in manipulation and control. So that's a whole other, red flag, right? And then, so for me, right, if I were to ever, even when I was younger, if I was looking for a man, you want to know, like, if you're a woman who's looking for a godly man and he's like, yeah, I go to church, I do this and I do that. You want to get this man to pray for you. It is important that you get him to pray for you. You want to, because this will tell you if A, he knows how to pray for you, and B, if he knows how to cover you. That can tell you a lot right there. Yes, Penny, anything, when you have not been intimate physically with anyone in 3 years, that's going to just take everything. Once anything touch you, girl, you're going to go off. It's going to be fireworks. Moved by feelings that you haven't felt in a while and mistake it for something real. Absolutely. That's exactly what we do when we add sex to the equation. So like I said, try to see if he can pray for you, see if he can cover you in prayer, bathe you in prayer. And then that way, when you pray together, a lot of times you get to hear his heart also. Absolutely, Christopher Sutherland. A man of God and a man that really loves you will never pressure you into anything you are not ready for. Absolutely. But like I said, when he's dealing with manipulation and control, he is going to keep pushing boundaries. He's going to keep trying things. He's going to keep trying. And the more you give in, guess what? He crossed that line. Let me see if I can cross the next one. It's just going to continue forward. Love is selfless. Yes, love is selfish. True love won't press you beyond your boundaries. True love will make a person walk away because they love you. Absolutely. Absolutely. And last but not least, I want you to ask yourself, when you are with this man, am I being my true self? Am I being my whole naked self, or am I presenting to him my imposter self because I don't feel like my true self, he can handle my true self? And a lot of times we women do that. We don't like to say it, but we'll wear this mask, or we'll kind of conform to what a man likes, and we will present this false self. We'll present this imposter self. And then as the relationship progresses, he's like, you ain't nothing like you were when we dated. What happened to you? So if this man is already making you feel like, you don't feel comfortable being yourself, or letting your guard down a little bit, or being vulnerable, or being open, and you're feeling like you're having to conform and change who you are, he's not a safe place for you, and he doesn't feel like home. So if you're feeling that, automatically you should know this is not the man for you. So that concludes my teaching for tonight. I'm so grateful that you guys were able to get on with me. I really want you to share this video. I believe it is a lot of nuggets for not just women, but men also, because they can take this and kind of flip it. Because like I said, you have very, manipulative women. You have women who operate in the spirit of Jezebel. You have, women who are going to push boundaries. You have all of these things. And you have some men who wear their hearts on their sleeves. So please make sure you share it. If you guys, thank you. If you guys have any questions, like I said, put them in the comments. If you have any comments, please put them in the comment section, because I don't know everything. And I'm pretty sure that there is a lot of information that you all could, add that we can all glean from. So like I said, and if you have any questions, if you don't want to put them here, you can inbox me. But when you inbox me, I'm trying to develop an email list. So if you would, please leave your email so I can respond to you. That way, I promise I'll try to respond as soon as possible, because right now I'm an essential employee, so I have to work. So, I'm not able to just be at home right now responding, but I will respond as fast as I possibly can. So again, I thank you guys for just, joining me tonight, taking some time out of your busy schedule to listen. I pray that, you women listen to this and take it to heart, because these emotional connections and getting ourselves tied up with these emotionally unavailable men, it's breaking us, it's breaking our spirits, and it's creating these holes and gaps and all this other stuff in us. And then when the right man comes, we have too much baggage. We got all this hurt. We can't even identify who he is, because we know we've just bogged down with all the crap that we've allowed ourselves to go through. So don't ignore the red flags. Don't, get out here trying to change who you are to make someone love you and care about you. You are perfect just as God created you. You are worthy. You are valuable. And when the right person meets you, they're going to love you just like you are, flaws and all. So again, I say thank you, and you all have a good night.